that the prohibition on non-Israelites against establishing for themselves religious innovations independent of the Torah, and the prohibition upon them from resting on the Sabbath day, even if it's another Sabbath day. In my understanding, this is included as like a detail of the laws of Noah, a detail which is under the laws regarding their commandment to uphold, to establish for themselves course of justice to enforce these laws. The reason why I consider it subcategorized under that of the 7 laws is because when addressing the laws of Noah and Mishne Torah, he writes, in the context of the prohibition upon them from making the innovations and resting on any Sabbath day, he writes that the courts are to, though such a person who makes these innovations or keeps the Sabbath is deserving of death, it adds that they are not to be killed, but that the court is to punish them and to give them whippings and inform them that they are liable for death, but they are not to be killed. Avol eno neheror. So that should answer your question. Additionally, just for a little further insight, notice it says goy she'osak beturo. A goy, one of the nations who was occupied in Torah, that he is liable for death. Again, he's not to be put to death. And also it says about a goy who made for himself Shabbat and rested on Shabbat. So there are a few things here. First, it says goy. It doesn't say get toshav. Now, goy is often translated or understood as Gentile, but the word comes, as is commonly known to peoples who speak Hebrew or know anything about Hebrew. The word goy literally just means nation, or one of a nation, i.e., of a nation other than the people of Israel. So it doesn't necessarily refer to all non-Israelites. In fact, in the same context of the laws of Noah, Rambam goes on to explain that there are non-Israelites who are distinguished from goy, such as a get toshav. This is like literally just a few laws later. He says, for example, and likewise it seems to me that we are to behave with a get toshav, which is a certain type of non-Israelite, with proper manners and expressions of charity and compassion, just as with an Israelite. For behold, we are commanded to sustain them, as it states, Lager asher b'sho'oracho titanano wa'acholo. This is from Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 21. And the sojourner or immigrant who is within your gates, you shall give it to him, and he shall eat it, referring to a certain type of meat that is forbidden for an Israelite to eat. In that same passage, it distinguishes between this non-Israelite immigrant, which is one who is not fully naturalized to the people of Israel. He's not a full convert. But it distinguishes between this non-Israelite and another non-Israelite who is called a nochri, which in halachic terminology, in the Mishne Torah at least, is rendered goy, usually. So he goes on here and he says, he distinguishes, he says that with a get toshav, one who is previously defined in a chapter earlier as a non-Israelite who has officially taken upon himself the laws of Noah, that means he recognizes the authority of the Torah, he believes in it, and he recognizes the authority and the preservation of the oral law, at least as it regards the laws of Noah. So, in this law, it refers to this type of person, a ger toshav, and then afterwards, it makes him distinct from a goy by saying, وَزَاشَ أُمْرُ حَخَوْمِينَ إِنْ كَفَرِنْ لُوهَنْ شُولَمْ. And this, that the sages stated, we are not to multiply to them greetings of peace. This was with reference to goyim, to this certain type of non-Israelite who has not officially taken upon himself the laws of Noah, does not recognize the truth of Torah and the preservation of the laws of Noah. And then he says, Lo be'er toshav. This is not with reference to a ger toshav, which is a non-Israelite who has recognized the laws of Noah. Alright, hope that's not getting too confusing. Let's see, how long I've been talking. 7 minutes. Yeah, I think that's good enough. Hope I answered your question. As I want to leave this off, as I stated in that last video, let's sit this down first. As stated in that last video, and as Rambam says in this same chapter, that a ben Noah who desires to keep any of the other commandments of the Torah in order to receive reward for the sake of merit, which the greatest merit is to increase in knowledge and closeness to the Creator, he is not to be prevented from doing so. He's not to be prevented from doing the other commandments of the Torah according to their halacha, according to their law for practically carrying out that commandment. So it very well, in my opinion, it could be that when it says that he is not to... Just a second. Alright, one last thing. I'm tired of making so many preparations for videos, so I'm just kind of doing it as I go along. Even though it says that the goy is not to keep Shabbat, or even a different Shabbat, not even another Sabbath day, and they're not to make religious innovations, yet immediately after that, it basically encourages and says that they are not to be prevented from doing other commandments, and it also doesn't state that they cannot, in some ritual manner, or like in any other type of manner, observe the uniqueness and the meaning of the Sabbath day. It specifically prohibits resting on a Sabbath day, which is cessation, to stop doing particular types of actions, because it uses the verb for Shabbat, shovath, hidesh dovor, or rested, the action of ceasing from doing these actions. It's not a reference to proclaiming the uniqueness of that day as a memorial for the Creator's having completed the act of creation and establishing himself from the perspective of creation, establishing himself as the authority over it, who alone has the right and authority to tell us what we can and cannot do. The end. Shalom. Shavua Tov, v'Hanukkah Sameach.